You ever notice how fast people are to label you a bad person these days? Like, you could just forget to hold the elevator door for someone and suddenly you're the face of moral decay. You're not even trying to be evil, you're just slow. You didn't process fast enough. You're there pressing the button, the door starts closing, and you make eye contact with that one guy running towards you, and in that half second, your brain just shuts down. The door closes. You stare at the little gap like you just committed a felony. Somewhere in your head, there's this dramatic music playing, like you've just betrayed humanity. It's like, no, man, I didn't hate you. I'm just tired. And that's the thing. We've reached this point where everyone's walking around carrying a silent little voice, whispering, you're a bad person for the most ordinary things. You didn't answer a text. You didn't smile at your coworker. You microwave fish in the office once. Everyone's guilty of something. It's almost like being human now comes with a permanent sense of guilt. You can't even breathe wrong without someone telling you you're part of the problem. You leave a light on for too long, and suddenly you're personally melting the ice caps. You forget your reusable bag once, and now the cashier looks at you like you just slapped a turtle. It's not even that we don't care, it's that we can't keep up with every single rule that makes a good person anymore. It's exhausting. There's always something new to feel bad about. Like, can we have one day off from moral awareness? One day where you can drink from a plastic straw without feeling like an oil executive in disguise? It's funny how the definition of good keeps expanding like it's a subscription service. Every month, new updates. Now you have to meditate, volunteer, compost, journal, drink 10 glasses of water, call your mom, post about mental health, and never, ever forget to tip. And if you miss even one of those, boom, bad person. The worst part is, most of us are actually trying. We're not out here kicking puppies. We're just trying to survive the day without collapsing, and somehow that's still not enough. You ever wake up one morning and realize you already feel guilty before even getting out of bed? You scroll your phone and it's like, you should eat better, you should donate, you should stretch, you should be grateful. It's like, I just woke up, let me stretch my soul first. My brain's still buffering. The guilt machine starts before breakfast, and by noon, you're already convinced you're a failure at being decent. It's like everyone's become their own personal judge and jury. We don't even need other people to call us bad anymore. We do it ourselves. You know that moment where you say something slightly awkward, and 3 days later, you're still replaying it in your head like it's a crime scene? You're like, why did I say you too when the waiter told me to enjoy my meal? That one phrase echoes in your skull like a confession. That's how tired we are. We're too drained to forgive ourselves for the smallest things. And then there's social media, the courtroom of modern morality. You can't even post a picture of your lunch without being analyzed for ethical purity. Someone's in your comments like, that's not locally sourced. And you're like, yeah, man, it's a sandwich, not a social movement. People act like every decision you make has to symbolize your entire moral stance. Sometimes you're just hungry, sometimes you're just living. But we've turned being good into a 24-hour job, and the worst part is no one's even getting paid for it. There's this quiet fatigue that comes from constantly performing goodness. You don't even realize it at first. You think you're doing the right things, smiling at everyone, holding doors, liking posts about kindness, and then one day, someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly your whole inner monk evaporates. You're gripping the wheel, whispering curses through your teeth, and then immediately feeling guilty about it. It's this endless cycle. Do good, fail once, feel bad, try harder, fail again. You're like a moral hamster on an emotional treadmill. But here's the truth that nobody wants to admit. Most of us aren't bad people. We're just tired. Tired of pretending we have endless patience, endless empathy, endless time. Tired of trying to be gentle when life feels like it's chewing us up and spitting us out. Tired of waking up already behind on some invisible list of moral tasks. And because of that exhaustion, sometimes we fall short. We snap, we cancel plans, we don't respond, we say something stupid, and then we spiral, thinking we failed at being decent. It's strange, isn't it, the way tiredness disguises itself as selfishness. You say no to someone because you just don't have it in you, and they think you don't care. But it's not that. It's that caring costs energy, and sometimes you're running on empty. You can't pour out what's not there. Yet the world keeps asking for more. Be kind, be aware, be engaged, be informed, be compassionate. It's beautiful, but it's exhausting. You're sitting there thinking, can I just be me. Quiet, unproductive, slightly grumpy, me. And deep down, there's this guilt for even wanting that. You feel bad for being tired. That's how twisted it's become. We've made rest feel like rebellion. Like taking a break means you stop being a good person. But maybe that's the trick. Maybe it's not about being good all the time. Maybe it's about being real. Because real people get tired. Real people get cranky. Real people forget. And maybe admitting that is more honest and more kind than pretending to be perfect. It's not easy to say out loud that you're worn out. The world treats tiredness like weakness, but it's not. It's proof you've been showing up over and over again. You've been caring, doing, helping, worrying, trying, and now you're just running low. That's not bad. That's human. We don't call our phones bad phones when the battery's dead. We just charge them. Yet we treat ourselves like moral failures for needing rest. Sometimes I think the real problem isn't that we're bad people, it's that we've lost permission to be imperfect. We've built this world where everyone's expected to be an endless source of energy and empathy. But people aren't fountains, we're batteries. And when you drain a battery, it doesn't mean it's broken. It just means it needs a break. So maybe the next time someone doesn't text back, or forgets to smile, or cancels dinner, we don't label them as bad. Maybe we just think they're probably tired. Because honestly, most of us are. The only difference is, some of us are just better at hiding it. I'm not a bad person, I'm just a tired one. You know what's funny? We all talk about being tired like it's some kind of temporary thing. Like, oh, I just need a good night's sleep. No, man, sleep doesn't fix this kind of tired. This is the kind of tired that's in your bones. You could hibernate for a year and still wake up needing 5 more minutes. It's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, mental, even soul-level exhaustion. We're all just walking around with coffee cups like emotional life support systems, pretending we're okay, but deep down, we're one more email away from total collapse. You ever notice how tired has become everyone's default state? You ask someone how they are, no one says great anymore. It's always, I'm tired. It doesn't even matter how old they are. A teenager says it, a mom says it, a CEO says it, even your dog probably feels it. And it's not just from work, it's from life. From existing in a world that keeps asking for more when you've got nothing left to give. You're like, how am I supposed to be productive when I haven't even emotionally updated my software since 2016? And the weird thing is, we don't even rest properly anymore. We schedule rest. We treat it like another chore. You're like, okay, I'll relax from 3:30 to 4, and then I'll feel better. You try to meditate, but 5 minutes in, you're thinking about your to-do list, your notifications, and whether or not you lock the door. You can't even nap in peace because your brain won't stop running its little highlight reel of anxiety. There's no off switch anymore. We've blurred the line between awake and working, between resting and worrying. Even the weekends have turned into a performance. Saturday used to be for nothing. Glorious, lazy, unstructured nothing. Now it's all about making the most of your time off. You wake up with a plan. Clean the house, meal prep, socialize, hike, journal, fix your life. By Sunday night, you're even more exhausted than you were on Friday. And then Monday rolls around and someone's like, did you have a relaxing weekend? And you're just smiling through your eye bags like, sure, yeah, I had a great time crying in between laundry loads. It's not just the busyness that's tiring, it's the pressure of busyness. The feeling that if you're not constantly doing something, you're falling behind. You scroll through social media and it's just people achieving things. Someone's running a marathon, someone's learning Italian, someone's baking sourdough from scratch, and you're like, I put on pants today, that's my win. But it doesn't feel like enough. You start to think maybe you're the problem, that you're lazy, unmotivated, but you're not. You're just exhausted from trying to keep up with a world that never stops moving. The kind of tired we're all feeling isn't from lack of sleep, it's from constant stimulation. Our brains never get quiet. You wake up, check your phone, scroll through bad news, good news, opinions, ads, more opinions. Before you've even brushed your teeth, you've already processed more emotional data than people did in an entire week 50 years ago. And somehow, we're expected to function normally after that. No wonder we're all tired. Our brains are running marathons in our heads before breakfast. There's this weird pride in being busy, too. Like being tired has become a status symbol. People brag about how little sleep they get. Oh, I only slept 3 hours last night. And everyone's like, wow, you're so dedicated. Dedicated? No, that's a cry for help. Imagine celebrating exhaustion like it's a medal, but that's what we do. Because being busy makes you feel important, and if you're not busy, you start to feel guilty. We've tied our worth to how drained we are. Sometimes you're not even sure why you're tired. You didn't run a marathon, you didn't climb a mountain, you just existed. You talked to people, answered messages, made decisions, pretended to be okay. That's a full workout for your soul. You get home at the end of the day and collapse on the couch like you've just survived a war. You try to rest, but then you feel guilty for resting, so you scroll your phone again, and that's how the cycle continues. You're stuck in this endless loop of trying to relax and failing at it. And the irony? The more tired you are, the harder it becomes to do the things that would actually help. You know you should drink water, exercise, eat better, but you're too tired to even start. It's like your body and brain are locked in a silent argument. Your brain's like, we should go for a walk, and your body's like, how about we just lie here and disassociate instead? And you always know who wins that argument. You ever have that moment where you're so tired that you start forgetting basic things? You'll walk into a room and just stand there, staring, trying to remember why you came in. Or you'll put the milk in the cupboard and the cereal in the fridge, and you just stand there thinking, well, that's who I am now. That's what being tired does. It erases parts of your personality. It's like someone unplugged your brain for half a second, and now you're buffering. And then there's emotional tiredness, the kind that no nap can fix. The kind that comes from constantly having to act like everything's fine, smiling through burnout, nodding through frustration, saying I'm good when you're anything but. It's pretending to be patient with people when you can barely stand being around yourself. It's this quiet exhaustion from holding it all together. You don't even notice how heavy it's gotten until one small thing like spilling coffee makes you want to cry. And it's not about the coffee, it's about everything. It's about how much you've been carrying without rest. It's a weird time we're living in because everyone's tired, but no one wants to admit it first. It's like some silent competition. Who's functioning better on less energy? Everyone's smiling, nodding, doing their best impression of a healthy human being while secretly running on fumes. It's almost comical. You'll be in a meeting and everyone's pretending to be focused, but inside, everyone's fantasizing about going home and lying face down on the bed for eternity. And yet, underneath all of that exhaustion, there's still this tiny spark of humanity. We keep showing up. We keep doing our best, even when we're drained. That's the most impressive part. We don't give ourselves credit for it, but it's incredible how people still find the strength to care when they're running on empty. You're half awake, but you still show kindness, you still help someone, you still laugh at something stupid. That's not weakness, that's resilience disguised as fatigue. Maybe being tired isn't just a sign of burnout. Maybe it's proof that we've been trying too hard to live up to impossible expectations. Maybe tiredness is our body's way of saying, hey, enough pretending. You don't need to be superhuman, you just need to rest. And maybe if we listened to that voice instead of fighting it, we'd find something closer to peace. Because when you really think about it, being tired isn't a failure. It's the most honest reaction to the world right now. It means you've been showing up, feeling things, carrying your share of chaos, and maybe that's enough for today. I'm not lazy, I'm just tired, and honestly, that should be reason enough to rest. You ever notice how guilt has become like oxygen? It's just everywhere, floating around, and we're all inhaling it without realizing. You can't even exist these days without feeling guilty about something. You wake up late, guilt. You eat something unhealthy, guilt. You skip someone's birthday message, guilt. You spend time alone instead of hanging out, guilt. It's like no matter what you do, there's a little voice in your head waiting to remind you that you could have done it better, faster, or with more enthusiasm. It's exhausting, really. We've turned guilt into a full-time emotional job, and no one even asked if we wanted to apply for it. It's not even the big stuff either. It's the small, invisible guilt that follows you around. You order takeout because you're too tired to cook, and there it is, that whisper, you should be eating something healthy. You cancel plans because you need a break, and your brain immediately turns into a blessed. Courtroom, the defendant is accused of being selfish and antisocial. You're guilty before the trial even starts. And the thing is, we're all playing both roles. We're the judge and the criminal at the same time. You can't win. It's wild how guilt shows up even when you're trying to do something good. You donate to charity, but you feel guilty that it wasn't more. You help a friend move, and then you feel guilty for being annoyed about it. You're trying to be kind, but somehow guilt sneaks in anyway, like it's allergic to contentment. It's almost as if we've forgotten how to just do something without turning it into a moral evaluation. Every action now needs to pass a test. Was it selfless enough? Efficient enough? Did it make someone else feel good? And social media, oh, it's like guilt on steroids. You can't scroll for 5 seconds without finding something you're supposed to care more about. A tragedy somewhere, a cause, a fundraiser, reminder that you're not doing enough. You're sitting there thinking, I just wanted to see a cat video, but now you're having an existential crisis over the state of humanity. You start feeling guilty for not feeling guilty enough. It's this bizarre loop of caring too much and feeling terrible that you're not caring the right way. The truth is, people aren't bad or uncaring. They're just overloaded. We've hit this point where we're emotionally exhausted from trying to care about everything all the time. There's only so much empathy one brain can handle before it short circuits. But the world doesn't slow down. It just keeps throwing more reasons to feel bad at you. You can't even escape it. You go outside to get fresh air, and then you feel guilty for not being at work. You stay in and rest, and then you feel guilty for not going outside. There's no version of life that doesn't come with a side of guilt anymore. And the worst kind of guilt? The doing nothing guilt. You know that one. When you finally get a day off and just want to lie down and stare at the ceiling, and your brain's like, wow, must be nice to waste the day like that. You can't even relax without feeling bad about it. You're lying there trying to recharge, and your mind's holding a motivational speech you never asked for. You could be learning a language right now. You could be working out. You could be growing. Growing? I'm just trying to breathe. It's like guilt has disguised itself as motivation. It pretends it's helping you, whispering things like, you can do better. But it's not helping. It's just draining. You can't improve yourself out of exhaustion. You can't guilt yourself into peace. All it does is make you feel like no matter what you accomplish, it's still not enough. You finish one thing and guilt's already standing there with a clipboard going, okay, great, what's next? You can't win that game because the goalpost keeps moving. You ever notice how guilt even creeps into happiness? Like, you'll have a good day, things go right, and then this thought slides in, maybe I don't deserve this. That's how deep it's gotten. We don't even trust joy anymore. We feel like we need to earn it, and that's sad, because the whole point of living is to feel joy when it comes. But we've made everything conditional. I'll be happy when I've done enough. Enough for who? Nobody's keeping score but you. And if you're a decent person, which most people are, guilt hits you hardest when you're just too tired to be your best self. You know those moments where you're short with someone, or you cancel plans, or you forget something? You instantly turn it into this big moral failure. I'm a bad friend. I'm a terrible parent. I'm not reliable. But really, you were just running on fumes. You didn't have anything left to give. That's not cruelty, that's fatigue. You weren't being a bad person, you were just human, and humans have limits. The thing about guilt is that it thrives in silence. You carry it quietly, pretending it's not there, while it eats at you from the inside. You start apologizing for everything, not because you did something wrong, but because you've learned to preempt guilt. You apologize for being late, for saying no, for needing space, for existing. It's almost funny the way we apologize for things that are just normal. It's like we're all trying to prove that we're not bad. Sorry, I'm just tired. As if being tired needs an explanation. But maybe guilt is also a sign that you care, that you still have some softness left in you, even if it hurts. The problem isn't caring, it's caring without boundaries. We try to be everything for everyone, and when we can't, guilt fills the space. But maybe that guilt isn't telling you to do more. Maybe it's telling you to slow down, to accept that you can't carry every weight, that sometimes being a good person isn't about doing everything right, it's about not giving up, even when you're exhausted. There's a quiet kind of courage in saying, I'm doing the best I can. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things to actually believe, because it means accepting imperfection. It means letting go of the idea that you owe the world constant goodness, constant availability, constant energy. You don't. You're allowed to take a step back. You're allowed to rest without earning it. You're allowed to have limits and still be a good person. The truth is, guilt will always be there, sitting in the corner of your mind, waiting to speak up. You can't get rid of it completely, but you can learn to recognize when it's lying to you, when it's not a moral signal, but just exhaustion wearing a different outfit, when it's not telling you to be better, but just reminding you that you're human. And maybe the next time you start feeling guilty for not being enough, you can stop and think, maybe I am enough, just tired. Because sometimes that's the whole truth. You're not lazy or selfish or uncaring. You're just caring too much for too long in a world that keeps asking for more. I'm not a bad person. I'm just tired of feeling like I have to prove otherwise. You ever notice how the line between being a good person and just being a functioning one has completely disappeared? It's like somewhere along the way, doing your best turned into doing everything perfectly without ever complaining. You used to be able to mess up and people would say, it's okay, you're human. Now, if you forget to reply to a text for 2 hours, it's a full moral incident. We've made survival feel like a moral test. You're not just living anymore, you're constantly auditioning for the role of decent human being. There was a time when being a good person just meant being kind, maybe helping a neighbor once in a while, not stealing anyone's lunch from the office fridge. Simple stuff. But now it's like you need a whole portfolio. You have to be kind, informed, eco-friendly, fit, emotionally intelligent, socially active, empathetic, spiritual but not too much. It's exhausting. You're just trying to make it through a Wednesday, and suddenly you're being evaluated on 47 different moral criteria. And the funniest part is, people treat just functioning like it's a personal failure. You tell someone, I took a shower today and did the dishes, and they look at you like you've just confessed to slacking off. Like, no man, that's the best I had in me today. The truth is, sometimes surviving is the achievement. Getting out of bed, answering one email, not screaming at the microwave for taking too long, that's victory. But we've set the bar so high that functioning doesn't even count as living anymore. You have to be thriving, glowing, productive, balanced. It's almost like we've replaced being good with being efficient. You can't just care, you have to care correctly. You can't just be kind, it has to be visible, documented, hashtagged. You can't just help someone, it has to come with the right caption. Everything is turned into proof that you're doing enough, trying enough, being enough. The sincerity is gone. It's replaced by exhaustion dressed as effort. And then, when you finally burn out, people tell you to practice self-care. Like, oh, thanks, I'll just fix my existential crisis with a bubble bath. Self-care has become this checklist of things you're supposed to do to keep performing better. It's not even rest anymore. It's like, okay, take a nap so you can be more productive later. We've managed to turn rest into another job. You're lying down, trying to relax, and there's this little voice in your head whispering, you should be using this time wisely. It's absurd. You ever try to be nice when you're that tired? It's impossible. You're standing in line at the grocery store, and the cashier's moving slow, and you're doing your best not to lose it. You know you're supposed to be patient, but your soul's at 1% battery. You feel the rage bubbling up, and then the guilt kicks in immediately after. You're like, why can't I just be a better person? But you're not even angry, you're just empty. You're not failing at kindness, you're just running out of energy. And it's funny because no one really teaches you how to deal with that emptiness. You just keep trying to pour from an empty cup. You keep saying yes to people because you don't want to disappoint them. You keep showing up even when you're unraveling inside. You keep pretending everything's fine because somewhere along the line, admitting you're not okay started feeling like a confession. And that's the trap. You end up performing life instead of living it. The thing is, being a good person used to be about intention, about heart, about effort. But now it feels like it's about stamina. Like whoever can keep smiling the longest wins. Whoever can keep giving without stopping gets the gold star. And when you finally collapse, people say, wow, you were so strong. Yeah, but at what cost? You can't live your whole life in survival mode and still be expected to glow while doing it. Sometimes just showing up is all you've got, and that should count for something. The world doesn't make space for that anymore, though. It's all about pushing through. You could tell someone, hey, I'm struggling, and they'll say, have you tried yoga? Yeah, sure. Let me just stretch my way out of emotional burnout. The truth is, most of us don't need advice. We need understanding. We don't need someone to tell us to fix ourselves. We just need someone to say, yeah, I get it. It's hard. Because it is hard. Being kind in a tired world, being patient when everything feels urgent, being gentle when you're on edge, it takes everything you've got. Sometimes you think, maybe I used to be a better person. You remember being more patient, more open, more forgiving. And maybe you were, but you also weren't caring as much then. You weren't stretched so thin. You weren't constantly bombarded by noise, expectations, and comparison. You were allowed to breathe. Now, you barely get a moment to exhale before life hands you another reason to feel behind. And when that happens, you start mistaking depletion for moral failure. You start believing you've become someone you're not, but you haven't. You're just tired. You know what's weird? We applaud people for being strong, but never for being honest. We call someone strong for holding everything in, but if they say they're burnt out, it makes people uncomfortable. We want everyone to be functioning, smiling, and endlessly available. It's like we've all agreed to a lie, pretending we're fine so no one feels awkward, but maybe the real act of being good now is admitting when you're not okay. Maybe that's what honesty looks like in a world that runs on pretending. It's crazy how we've made compassion harder than cynicism. Being jaded is easy. It takes no effort to roll your eyes and give up. But to keep trying to be kind when you're exhausted, that's heroic. To hold on to your humanity when everything around you feels like it's falling apart, that's strength. The small things matter more than we think. Smiling at a stranger, listening when someone talks, forgiving yourself for not having it all together, that's real goodness. That's what's left when the energy runs out. We all have this idea of who should be the calm, patient, endlessly understanding version of ourselves. But life doesn't always let you be that person. Sometimes you're stuck being the version who's just trying not to lose it in traffic. And maybe that's okay. Maybe being good doesn't always mean being graceful. Maybe sometimes it just means not giving up on trying. Maybe the measure of goodness isn't perfection, it's persistence. Because if you strip everything away, all the labels, the standards, the pressure, what's left is something simple. You wake up, you try, you fail, you try again. You care, even when you're exhausted. You keep choosing to participate in this messy, demanding world despite how drained you feel. That's not failure, that's humanity. So maybe the real difference between being good and just functioning isn't a difference at all. Maybe they're the same thing now. Maybe functioning is good enough. Because surviving a world that never stops asking, never stops moving, never stops needing, that's not weakness. That's proof you're still in the fight. I'm not a bad person. I'm just trying to keep functioning in a world that won't slow down.